In the last video, I showed you how relays work. In this video, I will show you how and why to use them with an alarm panel. I will use my test SP6000 for the tutorial. Before you start, keep in mind that miswiring the relay to the alarm panel will cause damage to the relay and the alarm panel and may cause a fire. So unless you are technically competent, this video is not for you. If you're working in a large, noisy commercial space, a standard alarm siren might not be loud enough. You may need a more powerful siren, but it could exceed your panel's power limits. The solution? Use a relay. A relay acts like a switch. When the panel triggers it, the relay activates and connects the siren to its own power source safely. The output we'll use to control the relay is called a PGM, or programmable output. There are many ways to program a PGM, but to keep things simple, we'll set it to follow the siren. That means when the panel activates the siren, the PGM turns on as well, triggering the high-powered siren through the relay. When the siren turns off, the PGM turns off too. Ideally, PGMs are programmed using software like BabyWare, but in this tutorial, I'll show you how to do it directly from the keypad. The SP6000 comes with two PGM outputs. Your panel might have more or none at all. To check if a PGM is programmed, open BabyWare and connect to the panel. Right-click the panel, go to Properties, PGM, and check the first line. If it shows PGM1 disabled, then it's not programmed. Now let me show you how to program the PGM from the keypad. First, press the power button on the top left. Then enter the installer code. The default installer code is 0000, but yours is probably different. Press the bypass or BYP key to start programming the PGM. Now press the number of the PGM that you want to program. For me, I will program PGM1, so I will enter 01. Notice the arm light is blinking. Now press enter.
Enter.
At this point, we have to select the PGM type. This is where we instruct the panel how the PGM will behave. Depending on the options you choose, the menu path that follows will differ. As I mentioned, I will choose the simplest path for the tutorial. Press 5, which is the option for follow bell. At this point, we have finished programming PGM1. Press enter, then clear twice to exit. Please note that it is difficult to get this correct from the first time. That is why it is important to try this on a test panel first and make sure the panel firmware is not too old. Now, let's check in BabyWare to see the result of what we just programmed. Notice that the activation and deactivation events of PGM1 are now set to bell on and bell off. Also notice that the timer is automatically set to 0.
SP6000 has PGM1 and PGM2.
Now let's test how the PGM will work. As mentioned, my SP6000 has only two PGMs. I have my negative probe on PGM1. Placing the other probe on the auxiliary plus or minus, I get 0 volts. When the PGM is activated, I should be getting 12 volts more or less when I place my other probe on the auxiliary plus. If by mistake I put it on the auxiliary minus instead, I will see no change. That is how you can tell if your wiring is correct. Now a disclaimer, this test should be safe, yet some people will still manage to somehow fry their panel here. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Let's see what happens when I arm the panel. This panel is set to arm in 10 seconds, and the keypad is muted. Once the panel arming was complete, I triggered the motion detector. Notice as the zone is blinking on the keypad, I am getting 13 volts on the multimeter. When I disarm the panel, the voltage through the PGM goes to zero. If you had a relay wired to PGM1, the one we program, it would be triggered as soon as the siren goes off. I don't have a 12-volt relay, so I can't show you the actual wiring, but I will explain to you how to do it with the 3-volt relay that I have. Caution, you can only use a 12-volt relay with this 12 volts panel. The relay in my hands is for explanation purposes only. The VCC on the relay is what powers the relay board. This should be wired to the panel's auxiliary plus. The ground on the relay goes to auxiliary minus on the alarm board, and the in one goes to the PGM. In my case, that is PGM1. It is as simple as that. If your board draws too much power, or if your panel is powering too many other devices, like keypads or motion detectors, you may have to use a separate power source to power the relay board. If this is the case, the VCC on the relay board goes to the positive of your separate 12-volt power supply, and the ground goes to the negative or minus of your separate power supply, and the IN1 goes to the PGM. For this to work, you also need to join the negative from the power supply to the auxiliary minus. Caution: mistakes can cause damage to the alarm board, relay board, and/or cause a fire. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please hit like and subscribe to help the channel. See you in the next one.